Welcome to the SodiusWillert Introduction to OSLC Connect for Confluence. I'm Robert Polarion, our product officer, and I'm here to give you a short introduction on our new product that we're releasing to market. So let's take a look at Confluence. So we have a simple page here, give you a little sense of what we're trying to do. Traditionally with tools like Confluence, we're doing things like sharing information, whether it's meeting minutes, whether it's doing some reviews, whether it's doing a project navigator as we have here. It's excellent to be able to do that. What we've seen issues or seen a lack of capabilities when we try to integrate some of the other remote tools on how to be able to bring content in, especially if we don't want to create copies. One of the best ways that we've been using it over the years is something like just a simple link. And as you can see, this is a link within Confluence to our Polarion project. And so if I try to I can open this and either navigate to Polarion or open in a new tab. It gives me the same kind of feeling. I'm leaving Confluence to be able to access that information. And even if I go over to Polarion now in that new tab, I'm going to start out in one element or another, and it's just a complete context switch for me. What I want our readers to be able to do as they enter my Confluence page is to be able to access that information at their fingertips. We don't want them to leave Confluence, we want them to access it. And that's really the power of OSLC. OSLC gives us a way to be able to do what we call live links, rich previews, to be able to see into other tools without leaving. And so we can take a look at a couple here and give you an example of this. So this is actually a task that's within Polarion. If I actually hover over that link, it opens up this rich preview. In fact, there's a couple different styles of rich preview. I can show you a bigger rich preview that shows you more content. It's a way for me to be able to see that information dynamically from Polarion directly within my Confluence page. The same goes for this Jira OSLC link I have here. I can see a Jira artifact natively in there. And so it's a great way for me to be able to stay in Confluence as a reader, but be able to see those engineering artifacts. Now, it even gets more powerful as we look at some of the other types of artifacts that we can store in Polarion, like a requirements document. If I do a rich preview on this requirements document, what you're going to see is I actually provide a preview of the entire document from Polarion. So this is a capability from Polarion. It's providing me that information, and it's going to provide me securely. We'll show you how that login actually happens in a couple minutes, but it gives me the ability to be able to see this content, so I can see from multiple different tools. I can guide people to what to look at. It gives us a great experience to be able to do that. But remember before how I said it was dynamic. So I want to keep in mind that these aren't copies of information. This is dynamic information that we're seeing here. So if I do this rich hover, we're going to see that when I click on this link, it's actually going to open up a new tab. We can navigate directly to that artifact if we want. But the nice thing is if I go back and be able to change things, maybe like the priority, maybe I want to go ahead and change the status of an element. So maybe we want to do something later on. So let's actually decrease the priority here. And I can go ahead and save this artifact. So I've saved this in Polarion. The nice thing is if a user's actually over in Confluence, the next time they come and do this rich hover, it's actually a dynamic information. So you're going to see that priority change to low, the status change to rejected. So that information is actually up to date. And it's up to date because we're live pulling that information. We're not creating a copy. We're not synchronizing. We're going to live pull that information whenever you go to take a look at that link. So it's a great way that even though I'm in Confluence, I have assurances that it's the right and the most recent information. Now, that's kind of the user experience. What happens when it goes to how do I create these links? How hard is it to be able to do that? And that's where we spend a lot of time. So if I go to edit this page, you're going to see that the way I edit this page is a traditional way that I go ahead and edit any type of Confluence page. I just have some simple macros. So in this case, I want to create an OSLC link. I can do that. I can navigate and be able to say, I want to create another key reference, so key requirement document. I can look to an existing requirement specification in OSLC that's a requirements collection, and I can go ahead and add a link. What's nice about OSLC, it's actually Polarion that's going to give me this dialog back and says, okay, here's all the specifications you can link to. And so maybe I'm going to go ahead and take my software requirement specification, add that in, and be able to have that link. Now, how do we know what that link looks like? We have a nice little option here to preview it. It gives me that link. That's how it looks on the Confluence page. It even gives me that rich hover so I could see what contents are there. But what if I want to make that more visible? What if I want to actually embed the actual contents? I can also force it to use, instead of just using the link, let's use the large preview. What will that do? On that Confluence page, it will show it already expanded so that anybody comes to that page is going to see that content immediately. And when we update this page, you'll be able to see that. Now, the other thing you can do with OSLC, which is great, not only can I link to existing artifacts, I can create new artifacts. So the scenario that we often see our teams using is when they have to do action items. So maybe they're doing meeting minutes. They want to create a new task when they're doing those meeting minutes, assign it to somebody. What they can do is be able to use this change interface. Let's go ahead and create a new task here. This way I can create a task in Polarion from within Confluence and be able to establish that link. The nice thing is again, I'm doing my meeting minutes. I got this up on the screen. I'm sharing with everybody. Here is a task. I can maybe set the priority of something. I can add a description. I can add all the content that I want to in this Polarion dialog here, because it is a Polarion dialog. This is information Polarion's giving me, providing me. You can see what required fields I have. I can go ahead and create that immediately. You're going to see if I come to do this preview, that artifact's already created within Confluence, so I actually get to see the content that's already there and be able to see that information dynamically. And so this is a great way to be able to maximize the productivity of your teams. They're creating artifacts within their engineering repositories, but they're doing it from Confluence. So if I go ahead and update this document, you'll see that I'm using some links within some tables. So that's that artifact that I just created. You can also see if I scroll up higher, this is that software requirement specification from Polarion. So you can see it's already expanded. I don't have to hover over anything. It's just already there, and I can preview that content here. So it's a great way to be able to blend the formality of my engineering tools into the information sharing that I can do in Confluence. Now, there were some elements there when I opened up some dialogues that were saying which projects I could link to, and that really gets into some of the enterprise characteristics here. So within our space definition here, we want to be able to make sure we control what projects we might create artifacts in or use artifacts in. Seems like a standard concept that we might have. So what we have is we have a configuration on each of our spaces to be able to say which types of artifacts are coming from which projects, and that allows, as our people are editing pages, they can define what contents. And it's as simple as being able to add an association. So in this case, maybe I'm going to add another association to my Polarion repository. Maybe I want to include some test information now. So I'm going to create quality management relationships back to that Drive pilot project, and I can add that association. It's as simple as that. Now people that are using this space can use all the test artifacts that are in that Polarion project as well. Gives it a good ability to be able to interact back and forth and be able to access that content. Now, the other thing about enterprise that we want to pay attention to is access to content. What we said before is these are not copies of information. And I can show that to you by going over to a different web browser. Let's go ahead and reload this page here. What we're going to see here is what somebody would natively be able to see on a Confluence page if they don't have access to these other repositories or haven't logged in yet. So I haven't logged into any of these repositories yet. So the only thing I see for these artifacts is the title. I know that there's a link here. So I'm going to get, my rich hover is now going to be a login prompt. If I do the login, it's going to trigger me to be able to log into, and you can see this is my Polarion repository. I can go in and log into that and be able to say that it can share that information with me. And now I have access to this information. As well as all this access to this information happens in the audit logs of those tools. So you can control who has access to what information and what they can see. So it's a great way for us to be able to interact back and forth. You can see that our tool already updates all the links that I have on our page that happen to be in that Polarion repository. And you'll see that here's actually the Jira artifact. I haven't logged into Jira. Same concept here. If I go to click on the login, it's going to bring me to my Atlassian login for Jira and be able to have me have access to that, to be able to say that, okay, we want to let you have access to that information and be able to log in. Now I can be able to see that rich preview. So lots of flexibility here. Great way to share information within your Confluence repository. We highly encourage you to take a look at it. By all means, reach out to us to be able to start your free trial. It's also available in the Atlassian Marketplace, OSLC Connect for Confluence. Try it out today in your environment. If you have questions, reach out to our team. Thanks everybody for your time. Look forward to having you give your feedback and be able to be an active user of our new tool, OSLC Connect for Confluence. Thanks.